Hello, the internet. Happy Friday. We are back for another episode of Enter the Popverse. I am Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video host and producer here in the Popverse, which, if you didn't know, is a virtual realm created by ReadPop. And this is our weekly chat show where we do a roundup of all things geeky, all things exciting, and all things that we're looking forward to in the realm of geek. As always, for the full story and so much more, you can find it at thepopverse.com. So many more details and fun facts can be found over there all the time. And friends, we are in it right now. There is so much going on, and we're about to be in San Diego Comic-Con, so it'll be even more fun stuff for you to check out while you're there. For the full Popverse experience, why not get yourself a Popverse membership? It's what all the cool kids are doing, and I know you are going to want to do it too, my friends. Like I mentioned, our next live show is San Diego Comic-Con next week, starting next Wednesday. So many amazing people from Team Popverse are going to be in San Diego. So if you are coming, especially if you're coming from somewhere all over the world, somewhere fun and exciting, please come and say hello to any of your favorite Popverse contributors, because we would love to know that you are there and we're not screaming into the void each and every single day that we do fun stuff like this. All right, let's see what the chat has to say. Jake Hefner kicking us off with the first comment. Happy Friday, friends. Hope everyone is doing well this week. I hope you are doing well this week, Jake. And Graham dragging us already. All the cool kids. Are we cool? You know, I'm going to say that you're cool, and you could do with that what you will. All right, let's see what else is going on today, friends. So actor strike. Possible topic for later. If you stick around for the second segment of the show where I'm bringing in my favorite unofficial co-host, you're going to have a chance to pick the topic that we are going to discuss. So if you're interested in the actor strike discussion, please sound off in the comments and let us know. But ahead of that, we got a lot of news that would typically be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. And since we know a bunch of the studios aren't bringing out talent, and aren't capable of doing presentations because of strike rules, we got a bunch of cool Star Wars news this week. So I brought my favorite Star Wars mug to celebrate the Ahsoka trailer dropping and the news that we're going to get more Young Jedi adventures. And friends, I want to remind you that on our second ever episode of Enter the Popverse, we interviewed Lamont McGee, and Lamont is the consulting producer and writer on Young Jedi Adventures. So if you're excited for this news, or if maybe this is what is prompting you to check out that series with some of the younglings in your life for the first time, why not check out the interview that we did with Lamont? He also worked on Black Lightning. I'm really, really proud of this video. You can see what Enter the Popverse was like in our earliest of days, and I think you're going to really enjoy it, because Star Wars news makes everyone happy. I mean, doesn't it? Am I wrong in that? You know what? If I am wrong, I don't want to know. Don't tell me if I'm wrong about that. Okay. Happy Friday, Tiffany Babb. Deputy editor. I almost said directing editor. I'm going to say directing deputy editor of the Popverse. Happy Friday to you, my darling. All right, my friends. I know you came here because you saw the genius that we put on the thumbnail, and you are so excited for what's coming next. I'm excited. If you can't tell that I have like zero chill right now, I think I just told on myself. Please join me, my friends, in putting together a traditional Theater Kid round of applause for the multi-hyphenate creator and writer behind the incredible Galaxy, the Prettiest Star, and the upcoming Hawkgirl series. Miss Jadzia Axelrod is here today. Hello.
Hello. Thank you
How
for
are
that
you?
intro. I love being called a genius right before I come out. Should put that in a writer.
I cannot tell a lie. You should put that in a writer. Genius or higher level compliments when being invited onto a chat show. How are you?
Nothing less than genius before I come out, please. Thank you.
So I would love to dive in and start talking about Galaxy, the Prettiest Star, because I love that story so very, very much.
Let's do it.
Your pitch, DC's pitch, how did she all come together?
Oh, that was mine. Way back when, a while ago now, because
in the before times.
A lot of things happen. My agent at the time was talking with Michelle Wells, who was in charge of the YA line at the time. And the YA line was just starting. And she said, we need some writers who are familiar with these characters, but have a more unusual point of view on them. And my agent was like, do I have the girl for you? Got me that meeting, which was great. And then I sent them several pitches for possible YA books. And then tacked at the bottom was my pitch for Galaxy, which they did not ask for. This was all supposed to be characters who already existed. The original character I was told not to do specifically. And that was the one they wanted. I thought they were going to go for the pitch with Lex Luthor taking over a boarding school, but nope. They wanted Galaxy, which is great. Great for me. Much rather write the Galaxy book.
I think the lesson is do what's not expected.
I mean, you got to shoot your shot. I think that's what it is. The worst that could happen was they would have ignored it. So like I had to put it in. And again, I'm so glad I did because it was such a wonderful story to do and the story I really wanted to tell.
Oh, that's really sweet.
So yeah, after that, it was a matter of like submitting a synopsis and then an outline and then just many meetings that I wasn't a part of on the editorial and executive level about whether or not they were going to publish the book. It almost didn't get published a couple times. And I want to thank Michelle and Sarah, who has a last name and who is the editor on it now. And I only call her Sarah, so I don't remember her last name when I feel bad. But it's in the book. So if you open Sarah Miller, thank you. Just call her Sarah, but I should really start using her last name. Both of them really fought for this book over and over again and made it happen, which I'm so grateful for. And I can never fully repay either of them.
The book is also, one, it's an incredible science fiction story. Two, it's an incredible superhero origin story. And then three, it deals with some complex issues around identity, particularly for young readers. Like if everyone is not like 29 and reading the book for the first time, this could be a lot of young people's gateways into telling this type of story and maybe reflecting that on themselves. So in your opinion, was it easier or harder having genre and superheroes as the background to tell like gender and sexuality stories with?
I think it's pretty easy for me, right? Because that's something that I've always kind of looked at through those stories through that lens anyway. So it was very easy for me. And I've said this before, but like superheroes are a very queer kind of story. And that you have these characters who have these double lives, and one life is much more colorful and dynamic and exciting, but they also have to keep on this normal life. And most superheroes are in the closet, either literally in some cases or in a more metaphorical way of like, I have to keep my secret identity. That's important. And so it's very relatable stuff to a queer reader, very relatable stuff to a trans reader. Bodies are frequently mutable in superhero comics, which is something I love. So like all of this stuff was already in there when I read them, whether it was intended or not. So to tell a story where all of this stuff is not just subtext, but literally what's going on was, I guess, second nature to me. I've never written anything faster. Like everything just flowed out. It was
is this first draft? Is this like first draft, best draft?
It's not first draft. It's not.
I was about to be devastated.
There were edits, okay? Like, I didn't do it all in the first draft, but everything just came out. Like it all came out very easily. I didn't have to struggle with any part of the story, which was incredible. I was not expecting.
And Taylor is such a beautiful character inside and out. Can we talk a little bit about like what might be in store in the future for Taylor?
Oh, well, we can definitely say that she's going to be in Hawkgirl.
Yes!
As a supporting character in that. And I was very excited that I got to use her for that. I needed someone for the Hawkgirl story who was a different personality type than Kendra, who's a little brusque.
Yes.
And I needed someone who had energy powers, essentially, to make the not really science fiction, the fantasy plot I wanted to have happen, make that happen the way I wanted to. And then I had a couple backups that we could like fit in there if DC said no to Galaxy, but I'm glad they said yes because I get to play with my girls again, and I'm excited.
Hawkgirl's kind of a unique character because she has such a complicated past. Like some characters, it's just like the continuity button is going off over and over and over again. So it seems like you're getting to play with the science fiction, but also the fantasy elements. Can you talk a little bit about melding maybe those genres?
Yeah, I mean, this is very much a fantasy story. Like there is a lot of science fiction in the Hawk stories. There's, of course, the planet Thanagar and spaceships and crazy machines and all that. But I didn't want to lean toward that because that's a lot of characters that don't have any basis in Kendra's life. Like that's Hawkman, that's Shayera. Those are other characters. They have a lot of science fiction stuff. So I wanted to stay away from that and focus more on a fantasy kind of retelling of the character and her origins. So we lean more onto a fantasy level. There's a lot of things that happen that do not make sense at first.
But they will. We're assuring you they will.
They will. I promise you. It was funny because issue 5 was the hardest issue to write because I had to explain everything. I was like, oh, this is hard. Oh.
Wait, issue 5?
Issue 5.
You're already on issue 5?
Oh, I've already finished issue 6. Like we're all, my part is done. Now it's just the work of the amazing artists and designers from this point out.
I'm like so impressed that you're that at like, I'm like the organization level is like, woo.
Well, I got a head start because Man K had to finish up some other things he was doing before he could start issue 1. So I was ahead of him from the go.
Booked and blessed. And you also got to debut Kendra's story and this new series in DC Pride. So is it fun to get to do like a pilot presentation like that? Is it strange to get to do not like it's a 0 issue, but it's not a 0 issue. It's an anthology, but it's an ongoing series.
Kendra didn't show up in DC Pride.
Oh, I thought, then no. My bad, friends. That's
Kendra's not gay. I'm sorry to tell you. And I know this because I did ask. And they were like, Kendra is straight. And I was like, that's fair. I'm sure there's some straight people somewhere. So yeah, Kendra can be one of those. So Kendra was not in DC Pride. But in last year's DC Pride, I did a story with Alicia Yeoh and Batgirl. That story actually got me this gig, which is wild because the editor really liked that story and really liked how I got everyone up to speed with who Alicia is and made them fall in love with her as I have fallen in love with her. And so they're like, could you do that to Hawkgirl? And I was like, yes, absolutely I can. Happy to do it. Because I've been a fan of Kendra since the old JSA days, like back in 2000 and 99 and all that. Because I was reading that when it came out.
I was going to ask, or I was like, circa, like maybe, I was like, it was Justice League, the animated series, like you're into this character and her various identities.
But that's not Kendra. Like it's a different character. And I was like, but I always liked Kendra because she was the teenage hothead of the Justice Society.
Very that.
So everyone was like venerating these old Golden Age heroes and like, whatever they say goes. And she was like, shut up, old man. I don't need this from you. And that appealed to me then. It still does now. And that's a quality I'm hoping to carry forward, even though she's been through so many changes since then. Which is kind of neat because she was very much learning how to be a superhero back then. And we've seen in like Justice League comics, she definitely knows how to be a superhero now. Like that's no question. And that's fun to play with.
I would also love, because before we started, you were very generous and you said the name of your villain. So we were all able to hear it. Will you tell everybody the proper pronunciation and maybe give us a little tease about what they're going to be up to in the series?
Volpacula is her name. It's kind of like Dracula, Volpacula. Yeah. So think of like a fox vampire and you've kind of got it. She
Oh,
is
sure.
yeah, she's a trickster character. I wanted a villain that would not be just someone that Kendra could hit with a mace and then we'd be done. I wanted a character who would have kind of a unique power set and like a influence beyond just what she was doing physically in space at the moment. So she is that, and she has this sort of folklore and mythic resonance that we'll see explored over the 6 issues.
Ugh, I love that so much. We talked about Amon K and how incredible
Oh my
the
god.
work is, but can you tell me a little bit more about your collaboration? I know you said that you kind of did your part earlier and now the art's being done, but I'm sure you're very, very heavily involved.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still involved, obviously.
Yeah.
Usually to say like make it gayer. That's actually not it.
That's so
We're
funny.
at an acceptable level of gay,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Man K knew the level I wanted and gave it to me. Like I didn't have to tell him, so we're good.
But also, can you ever be gay enough? I mean, honestly.
Well, not in my opinion, but this is a book for everyone. For having a straight protagonist, it is pretty gay. That's
Yeah.
the delightfulness of having Galaxy also in the book and the queerness that she brings. But we were talking about a Man K who is amazing, and especially with Galaxy, it was really cool to see him translate Jess Taylor's amazing design from the graphic novel into something that not only fit with his style, but also fit in with the superhero universe at large. So that was incredible to see. And like, I give artists a ton of visual references when I write scripts, because that's how I think. I think visually, so I'm like this. Here's an idea. And a Man K has taken all of them and put his own spin on them and made them better than I was hoping for. I sent him a picture of a female bodybuilder for Kendra, and I was like, give her these arms. And he's like, done. And did it like right off the bat. And I was like, we are on the same page. This is great. Yeah, he's just been a joy to work with. It took me a while to get the rhythms of a 20-page floppy versus a 180-page graphic novel.
Yes.
But I think now, like, after those first couple issues, we are pretty in sync now about what I can write for him to draw and how he draws what I write. So it was really fun to feel that right about the end of issue 2, and then definitely in issue 3.
Nice. Okay, I've already kept you longer than I promised. So lastly, but not leastly, because here in the Popverse, we celebrate TV, movies, and comics. What are you geeking out about right now that you are not working on?
So many things. Let me think.
It's okay. I'll pull up a
nerd. It's very well, I was very excited. This is related to what I'm working on, so I don't know if this counts, but I was very excited to hear the announcement that Hawkgirl is going to be in Superman Legacy.
Yes.
That is really cool. I hope they base the costume off of a Man K's redesign, which looks amazing. So that's my hope personally. But it's neat that she'll be there. So I was geeking out about that. What else have I been geeking out about? I just read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow for the first time. The art in there is so beautiful. Every page a painting, which is just incredible. So those are the 2 things on my mind, because that's what I did yesterday.
Topical. We love it. Jadzia, thank you so much for coming and joining us here in the Popverse today. Hawkgirl is going to be out so soon, and we're so excited for it. So I hope you will come back when we're maybe a few issues in and we can talk spoilers.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Friends, like I said, when geniuses come, there's no recovery from it. There's nothing that you can do to sound even kind of as cool as them. Thank you so much again to Jadzia for coming and blessing us with her awesomeness. If you are watching this live, I'm going to drop a little comment in the chat because we're going to let you decide what topic Graham and I, possibly Scroll Graham, this has been like a weeks-long mystery and we're not quite sure yet, are going to talk about. So I'm going to bring on this show's unofficial co-host. Please go down there and make your voices heard if you have a preference. Join me in another Theater Kid round of applause to welcome Mr. Graham McMillan. Hello, Graham.
Hello there. Bringing me on after Jadzia is really a splendid, ridiculous thing. I've got to say, I had to mute myself because I was laughing so much and I was worried you'd hear it.
I mean, she's the greatest. We are not worthy. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, Jadzia is just great. Yeah.
But you're here now, and that's what matters. You're possibly a Skrull. Are you still watching?
I am still watching
Secret Invasion.
And I was happy to see that Secret Invasion did exactly what I thought it was going to in the last episode, which is undo the death.
Yeah.
So there you go. Yeah.
You're like
it's definitely a show that's happening.
Okay, I've asked the chat what they want to see, and we've got strike. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to talk about the SAG strike. So,
I don't know if you've seen this, but Chris just told me we've already got our first cancellations of San Diego panels because of the strike.
Oh, girl, no, I haven't seen that. I've been in here making a fool of myself talking to someone way smarter than me. So tell me what's canceled.
You will be as upset as I am about this. The Sesame Street panels are gone.
No,
Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, but also
it's nice to know because it's not always true with public broad. It's nice to know that those are all SAG actors who are protected by the guild, who are standing up and doing what is demanded of them during this time. Unlike some other directors of major and writers of major motion pictures who are currently on their press junket tour that I could name, but that is, especially given our guest last week, truly devastating. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so Sesame panels are gone. Cruel Summer Season 2 is gone. Gen V, which is a boys spin-off, is gone. Yeah. The Anne Rice Interview with the Vampire is gone. The Orphan Black Echoes panel is gone. Yeah, there's some panels that are just no more. Which, I mean, to be fair, was going to happen, right? Like part of the SAG guidance is basically like, don't do Comic-Con.
The SAG guidance is so interesting, and a lot of people, I think, don't know the subtleties involved in that. So like
I would like you to unpack this as a SAG member yourself. I would like you to unpack this. Talk to me about the guidance. Talk to me about the subtleties, like you said, because one of the things that when they announced the strike yesterday, they said was like, this is not every SAG member that is impacted by this. Like they made a point of saying that in the announcement.
I don't quite know what that means. And
they basically said it is for people who are appearing in movies and television and on screen. And other SAG members, because there's musicians in there, there's journalists, there's a bunch of are not necessarily, if they get involved, that's of their choice as opposed to it's something that's expected of them.
Yeah, variety show hosts, but you see something like that, and then I'm not gonna say his name, but then a star of a major action franchise can thwart this and continue doing press when like Oppenheimer and Barbie very clearly yesterday before the strike technically took place at midnight, and they just went off and
the Oppenheimer walkout was amazing. For people who don't know this, the Oppenheimer premiere was happening at the time of the press conference, and the Oppenheimer cast left after the red carpet, and you had Christopher Nolan announce that they'd gone because the strike had started. I mean, the strike hadn't started, but the strike had been announced.
Which is what should happen. And if you're a director and it is truly a family, like a creative process should be, like you should encourage your performers to do that or to do what they think is right. And like that really warmed my soul. Because not every production is doing that. What I sort of want to unpack is that 80% of all SAG members are unemployed at any time, which means they're not actively, like I am currently not actively on a SAG project. So like I fall under that like 80% unemployed, but we're still paying the guild dues, getting guild benefits, et cetera, et cetera. And that's like a whole other complicated thing in and of itself. So a huge part of the breakdown was like, yes, no promotion, no press, no podcasts, no social media. So a bunch of people came to me, which was very, very sweet, and said, does this mean we're not doing any more episodes of Geek History Lesson? Does this mean we're not doing any more episodes of Enter the Popverse? And this is like where it gets sticky.
Murky.
Yes. So Lloyd says, yes, there's a lot of nuances. I've been texting my cousin to see how NYCC will be impacted. It depends on if the strike goes on that long.
I mean, yeah, MICC is in October.
But
we'll see things might be over by
if
then.
you look at some of the AMPTP comments, it seems like they're definitely hoping we'll still all be striking in October.
The thing I remember is in, I think 1980 was the last major actor strike. And that literally ran from July 21st to the beginning of October.
Yeah.
So there's every possibility it might happen again.
Yeah.
But again, actors and writers both at the same time feels like it's going to be
This is the first time
a problem.
Both guilds have struck since 1960.
Yeah, when, as someone pointed out, Ronald Reagan was in charge of the Screen Actors Guild and Marilyn Monroe was still making movies.
Yeah.
Just to throw that out there.
But so the podcasts and the streaming shows and the social media of it all, what that basically means is if any of those things are a SAG production, which they very well could be, you can't do them.
Yeah.
So this show isn't SAG. Geek History Lesson isn't SAG. We don't pay the dues and we don't enjoy the protections as a result. So it means that we can continue doing something like this. It also means that if I am Florence Pugh, I should be so lucky, and I'm in Oppenheimer, I couldn't come on Enter the Popverse and promote Oppenheimer. That is what it means. So just because a SAG actor tweets or Instagrams or TikToks or has a YouTube show or has a podcast, it doesn't mean that they have to stop making them. It means that if they are protected by SAG, they have to stop making them, or if they are being used as promotional material, they can stop making them. And that is going to be really interesting because I think we're going to see a lot of actors skirt that by being like, well, we recorded before July, or like we recorded that early, and there's no way to.
I have a question about the promotion thing.
Yeah.
Dear expert here, can they also skirt it by saying I'm promoting myself and not promoting a project?
You could. So
it gets murky, right?
Use the Florence Pugh metaphor. If I was on there and I was talking broadly about my career, I could. But the minute you say, and how is Oppenheimer? Then the minute you say it was an incredible experience, I had a wonderful time, it's in theaters, that you are technically skirting, and then it becomes up to SAG to basically blackball you from the union, which means that if that happens, you cannot work on any other SAG project going forward. You cannot hire any other SAG actors going forward.
Which is a big deal.
Which is a huge deal. I'm not saying there isn't incredible non-union talent. Of course there is incredible non-union talent. We get incredible non-union projects all the time, like Enter the Popverse. But it does get sticky, particularly if you're a person of a certain, I was going to say caliber, but I don't know if that's correct. If you're a person of certain notoriety. So a big thing also, thank you, Jake. Please also listen to my podcast. It's really great. I'll shamelessly self-promote. I don't care. Where it also, I think, gets a little murky is a big reason why it was important that SAG struck, and I think a lot of us were in support of it, is these international productions, because a lot of things like House of the Dragon, Deadpool, were still shooting because they shoot in Canada, they shoot in the United Kingdom, Rings of Power, and they simply said, we're not bringing writers to set, which, like, especially if you're a genre show with like deep complexities and there's languages involved and you think you don't need a writer on set, like, that is laughable in my opinion.
No, studios doing things that are ill-advised, that's crazy.
I know, but if the actors, so even if a show shoots in Canada, if all of the talent is SAG talent, it is an American studio producing it, it's still a SAG production. Even if they hire Jimmy from Bloor Street in Toronto, that's a real street. Look it up if you don't know. It's one of the biggest streets, which is why I could pull it. That's still a SAG production. It still has to operate under SAG rules. And they've been able to sort of skirt the WGA strike rules and not have scabs by just not bringing them to these international sets. But now SAG has been able to shut down a lot of these international productions.
Yeah, like Deadpool 3 is on hiatus. They announced that earlier today. Yeah. You know, and I think Doctor Who is already gone. I think
Doctor
sorry,
Who is
you go on,
also gone, yes, because which is so interesting because Doctor Who kind of only recently got folded into this.
right? Exactly.
The Russell
with the new
T
season. Yep.
yeah, Coom Disney sort of takeover of it all, which I know a lot of us are watching like very closely to see how it pans out.
But it's really interesting, and I think that it is these international co-productions, and honestly, the fact that it's the actors. I do think studios think, well, we can do without the writers for a while, but you really can't do without the actors for a while. You're just everything's going to stop.
Yeah,
and I think this is what's going to hopefully make producers and studios decide that they have to fix it. We'll see. We might just get a lot of reality shows for a while.
I mean, you and I would have this is going to become reality TV talk. I mean, I think there's a new season of The Ultimatum on its way. Jason Inman in here to stir the pot says, did you both hear that House of the Dragon is filming full steam ahead after the SAG strike because most of the British actors aren't SAG? If it's a SAG production, then that means they're Hartleying in a lot of actors. And I'm gonna swear this without even looking it up. All those leads are SAG actors.
I don't know if you know this, but I can't remember this. Slow Horses, the Apple TV show.
Yes,
that's Gary Oldman in it.
Yeah.
Gary Oldman's SAG.
Yeah.
The other actors aren't, and apparently they shot all of Gary Oldman's scenes first.
I mean,
because they were worried that this was going to happen.
They could have also done that on House of the Dragon. They could have shot out like Matt Smith for sure. They could have shot out like a lot of those lead characters. House of the Dragon's also an ensemble show, so I guess we're definitely going George R.R. Martin book 4, where we're taking minor characters and putting them in positions of prominence. As someone who read the Fire and Blood book, I don't know.
You're like we'll see.
But
it's going to
an impossible thing to do. Like Krypton block shot when it was shooting in Ireland, and there was no strike. Oh, look, and Jason came with receipts. Vulture. House of the Dragon mainly stars actors working under contracts with Equity. A local Equity previously said in a statement, it stands in unwavering solidarity. However, the organization noted in guidance to members that the strike is not lawful under United Kingdom legislation. I mean, I guess because SAG is not based in the United Kingdom.
Equity put that statement out really quickly.
Really
quickly.
Is Equity a stage or is it just a screen union? Because in America,
it's stage and screen.
Okay, because here Equity's just the stage union. Interesting. That's shady. I'm call shade. Here's my shade button.
Equity put that statement out really quickly yesterday, where it was basically like, we support them. However, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if that changes, though, because I do think, again, actors and writers both being out is going to change the math for a lot of people very quickly. But again, I didn't think we'd get 3 months into the writer strike.
I mean, I honestly
funny story, but here we are.
Given some of the statements, I think we're in this for a while, and it's gonna take solidarity to make this effective. And I mean that as a SAG member. Like if SAG takes the first offer that's given us in 2 weeks, and we throw the writers under the bus and are like, we're not the emotional moody ones, they're the emotional moody ones. That's not going to do good for anyone either. And that is going to leave the WGA in a bind as well. And we're going to have accepted an inferior contract. Like, we need to stick together on this.
Controversial question then. How do you feel about the Directors Guild accepting their offer? Because I know many directors are unhappy about that.
I mean, I will say that when I went to the rally, the DGA got the politest of golf claps when they were shouted out.
I don't know. I can't see a quick end to the Screen Actors Guild without the studios giving in, basically. I don't think there's a polite offer to be given that the union's going to accept at this point. We had what, 2 or 3 extensions to this negotiation? Because it was originally June 30th, right?
Yes.
And then it was July 5th and then July 12th, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the work of people who are trying to come to a deal, but then just couldn't. Do you know what I mean? There's no, and then the studios are going to say, we'll give you $1 more, and then it's like folds. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I just hope not, because I really think if the DGA had also stuck to their guns and done what their membership and not their leadership wanted, it would have been even more powerful, like to have them strike, because they would have struck almost a month ago at this point, and then to have SAG join, like to have all 3 unions would have really, really been quite something.
Yeah, exactly.
Do I think everyone's going to get everything they want? I don't, but I do think the concerns around what we're going to see at conventions is going to be super interesting because, you know, I've made the joke that like Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con is finally going to be about comics again this year.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll see how much people actually want that.
we will also get to see the disparity in animation because there are some animated shows that are SAG and are protected by SAG. Solar Opposites is an example of that. And there's a lot of animation, a lot of anime that we've bought for other countries or animated projects that are dubbed over, a lot of kids or like all ages entertainment that are not. So like we could still get a lot of stuff from the animated world. We could also get a lot of foreign projects. Like Lloyd Kaplan has this comment to the back catalogs, but if you'll notice, the CW's fall slate is all CBC productions that they bought. And we saw this during the pandemic again. That's why we got Lupin on Netflix. That's why we got Squid Game on Netflix. Like we could still see stuff like that happen. And there was also a piece that came out recently stating that the amount of money that Netflix made off Squid Game versus the amount of money that the original creators made off Squid Game. So like all we're doing is potentially moving this disparity to a different group of creators.
Yeah, there's going to be this, as you said, during the pandemic, we're going to see a lot of UK stuff on American streamers as well, because they'll be like, it's in the right language already. We don't have to dub anything. Like it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me wonder how much of this is going to eventually bleed over into Canadian and UK productions. Because I think it will, because like you said, the disparity is just going to be shifted. And that's not sustainable either. And
it's just not nice.
I
know it's naive to say in a capitalist society, but it's just not a kind thing to do to people. Peter Capaldi's doctor said, be kind.
I was explaining the what's going on with the SAG strike, because there's a couple of things that keep popping up in conversations I'm having. One of which is everyone thinks, well, actors are rich, so they can strike. No, but that's
of actors are rich.
But that's just it. But a lot of people are like, well, but they're actors, they're rich, as opposed to writers who are poor. You know, and neither of those things are necessarily true. There are some very wealthy writers, there are some very poor actors. But the other was, I think a lot of people don't understand, especially when it comes to streaming, how bad the residuals are.
There's nothing.
Well, someone on Twitter was tweeting yesterday going, to give you an idea of how bad residuals are for streaming, I'm in the background of one episode of the Eric Andre show on Adult Swim, and I make more annually than one of the leads from Orange is the New Black.
Yes, another writer, I can't remember who it is, I'm so sorry, from She-Hulk was like, my only residual check was for $336.
It was Cody Ziegler.
Yes, thank you so much. Who's incredible, and She-Hulk is great, but like that's
that was shocking. You know, well, it's because Bob Iger did his interview yesterday, where he thought that, I guess he wanted to personally out himself as making it worse, as opposed to the anonymous person in Deadline who said, we're going to wait until writers are homeless, which again,
not
just cartoonishly evil. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then Bob Iger came out and basically was like, well, I think everyone who's striking is ungrateful and doesn't understand how much money we could lose, which was again, there are people who just don't understand the realities of this. You know, like Iger makes per day more than the average writer makes annually.
Yeah.
You know, so he genuinely doesn't understand. He genuinely doesn't understand.
To frame it just one more time from the actor's perspective, in the 90s, when it was all network television before streaming, if you were a character actor, so if you were like that guy in that thing, if you were the soup Nazi on Seinfeld, that's a timely reference, everyone understands.
Topical.
If you were Bulldog on Frasier, I can keep going with white people comedies from the 90s. You could do, you know, maybe 5 guest spots a year, maybe a commercial, and with residuals and the pay scale, that would be enough for you to survive on. Now, you can host the #1 show on Netflix, you can star in the #1 show on Netflix, and still not have enough money to look after yourself for an entire year. So like,
again, talking about Orange is the New Black, Dan Guerrero gave an interview where she was like, yeah, I was on Orange is the New Black and I was still bartending.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she had to live. She had to make a living. And that's just, people don't really comprehend that. People don't really think about that. You know, there is this idea of like, well, if you're on TV, you're famous.
Yeah, I mean,
or if you write TV, you're famous. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And that doesn't necessarily mean anything in practical terms.
Yeah, think of performers and writers more like seasonal workers. Sometimes you get some good shifts and sometimes you don't, but this is going to leave us in a really interesting place for next week. I
Mhm.
think you and I are going to be talking about this a lot in the coming weeks, hopefully not months.
I
maybe
think this is
weeks.
going to be a big deal. I think now that we have writers and actors both striking, I think it's going to be a big deal. I do hope we're talking about it a lot. I also hope that we're not talking about it for a long time because I hope it gets sorted quickly.
I agree. I hope the studios in about a month feel a lot of pressure and just cave and give us what we want. I think that's the best case scenario. Graham, before I release you back into the Popverse, is there anything else on this that we should have talked about that we did? Graham wrote the fantastic article that's all up on Popverse that has a great breakdown if you want any more facts or like hard quotes than what we've talked about here today.
I think it's not something we can talk about now, but I wouldn't be surprised if 2 weeks from now you and I are having this conversation about how it impacted San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh,
I think
for
San Diego
sure.
is going to be a fascinating experience this time next week. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in person again. Haven't seen you since April.
I know.
But
I do have one final question for you though.
yeah, on you go.
What's your Barbieheimer take?
I think I've said this before. I don't really care about Oppenheimer, but I am going to go see Barbie. I will tell you this. I was at Mission Impossible the other day, which I very much enjoyed. People were applauding the Barbie trailer.
I have to say, I am not like I have no skin in either of these games. Like it really doesn't matter to me. But the art that is coming out of it, these posters, these mashups, these t-shirts are like really what's giving me my entire life.
You're like, this is summer for me now. Summer is just the fan art.
100%. It's all I mean. Fan
Okay,
art,
I have one last question to you then.
Sure.
Are we going to see Barbieheimer cosplay at San Diego?
Ooh, I'm only interested in it if it's the mashup. If it's just
that's what I'm saying. I want the mashup. I'd like.
Are we going to?
Someone is going to. Surely.
Like there'll be one. It'll be like that guy who's like 6 feet tall, always at New York Comic Con, and he's always has like the jug. He's always in that big costume, stopping the traffic. It's gonna be like one of those type of people who's like super dedicated. I just hope if that's true, I see them in person. Also, Lloyd Kaplan, move over BOV. Somewhere Paul McCartney's like, wait, what? No. All right, I'm going to banish you back into the Popverse. Thank you for joining me. Conversation to be continued in 2 weeks.
Indeed.
Oh, and I'm going to make you say this because you don't want to. Where can people follow you on Twitter?
You can follow me at my name with an M at the end on Twitter.
It's my favorite thing to do to Graham. All right, bye. All right, friends, we have one more exciting thing to tell you about San Diego Comic-Con because this is actually gonna happen. Can you believe? One of my favorite things about San Diego Comic-Con that I got to go and cover last year for Popverse is the Her Universe fashion show. It is coming back this year. I am going to be there and doing all kinds of fun coverage. So, I mean, of course, don't forget the popverse.com, all of our socials. That's going to be where all my coverage is. I got to talk to on Monday Ashley Eckstein, who is not only the voice of Ahsoka Tano, but is the founder of Her Universe and the creator of the Her Universe fashion show. And I'm going to share our chat with you right now. She's one of my favorite people in the geek sphere, and I hope you'll enjoy our little chat together. Ooh. 9 of the Her Universe fashion show.
Oh gosh, it's truly surreal to be, celebrating the 9th annual Her Universe fashion show. And this is truly going to be our biggest and best show yet, because this year we're celebrating 100 years of Disney. The entire show is going to be Disney, which if anyone knows me, they know that I am one of the biggest Disney fans on the planet. Yes, I will say that. I'm a massive Disney fan. So this is a dream come true. And we have so many just epic surprises and prizes and designs. The show is going to be so much fun this year.
I know you can't give too much away, but are there any of the designs that really like took your breath away? Was there anything that really surprised you that you're excited for us all to see very shortly?
Oh yes. Oh yes. I can share that starting with my look, because it's one of the first that you'll see. It's a first of its kind. I like to do things that have never been done before. And this, to my knowledge, incorporates technology and couture fashion in a way that's truly, never been done before that I've personally seen. And so I'm very, very excited about it. So starting with, my look that is one of a kind, to my co-host, Michael James Scott, who is literally going to be serving his best Disney Met Gala dreams to the designers that are competing, which really runs the gamut of 100 years of Disney, all the way back to the early days of, inspired by the early Walt Disney days from Walt Disney Animation, all the way to the latest Disney movies. Some that we haven't even seen yet. So it's very, very exciting. And some designs will for sure be unexpected. I mean, keep in mind that 100 years of Disney encompasses everything from Walt Disney Animation to Walt Disney Studios to Walt Disney himself to Disney Parks to Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, National Geographic, and Fox. I mean, a lot of people forget about Fox. Fox is a part of Disney now. So everything was fair game, and you're going to see a wide variety of designs.
So just because you hinted that technology was going to be involved, can you tell me, is the new piece that you're wearing more or less heavy than the Lego dress?
Oh, that's a good question.
Thank you.
It might. We were just talking about that yesterday because I was working with Andrew McLean, who is once again designing this with me. I think it's going to be equal to the Lego dress. So the Lego dress weighed about 25 pounds, but not as heavy as the Funko Pop dress, which was 45 pounds. So it'll still be a bit of a workout.
Yeah.
But it'll only be around 25 pounds. No big deal.
Casually.
Yeah.
You've had so many incredible co-hosts over the year. Nina West last year, Michael James Scott this year. How do you go about even vetting who's going to join you on stage? I have to imagine people are banging down your door for the opportunity at this point.
Well, so I feel so incredibly blessed that these are my friends, and it just happens naturally. I mean, Nina West is just, I feel so honored to call Nina one of my bestest friends. And I was just honored last year when I was looking for a co-host, and Nina had never been to Comic-Con, and I reached out to Nina and I was like, we wanted to find a way to work together. And I was like, hey, I have this thing. It's a couture fashion show. I think it's right up your alley. Would you, be willing to co-host it with me? And Nina, who is one of the kindest people on the planet, said, absolutely, and jumped right to it. And we had so much fun, literally so much fun. And so Michael James Scott, which a lot of people might not realize, we go all the way back to high school. So we're childhood friends.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We went to high school together, and we went to a performing arts magnet school. So we've been doing theater together ever since I was in 9th grade. And Michael and I go way, 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 way back. And so we are such good friends, and you're going to see that on the runway. We're going to have such a good time. We're probably going to be laughing so hard we're going to cry. Like, that's how we are when we get together. It's just like so much energy and joy comes together, and we just combust. So just expect a lot of laughter, happiness, joy. And then Michael is going to be performing. So expect, expect Broadway quality performances. I mean, I'm telling you, our show, this is going to be the biggest and best yet. And I know people say that, but I truly mean it. Not only is our show free, but this year we're giving away prizes. And like, these are not just like t-shirts. I mean, we're giving away epic prizes, like prizes that are you're going to get before anyone else, like exclusive debuts, and like major prizes. So fans are not going to want to miss the show this year. I mean, trust me, you're going to have like FOMO. If you miss out on the show, people are going to be like, why did I not go to this? So I'm excited for fans to come. So you can show up as early as 11 a.m. and you get a wristband, and that wristband will guarantee you entrance into the fashion show. So you're going to want to come early, get a wristband, and then come back later and just enjoy the show. And it's free and it's fun for the whole family. So it's welcome for all ages, and everyone's going to have a great time.
So not only are you giving back to fans, but you have ushered in like a whole generation of new geeky couture creators. Did you know when you brought Her Universe to a runway show that this was going to happen, that you were going to become like the godmother to entire lines of clothing?
Well, that's the part that sometimes I have to be honest, I get a little giggle by it, because I came up with the phrase geek couture. Like that didn't exist before. And I was trying to explain to someone what I was envisioning when I was trying to build the fashion show. And I was like, it's like couture fashion, but it combines the geeky properties that we all love. So it's couture fashion inspired by geeky properties. It's geek couture. And then it just kind of like became this phrase, like, duh, you don't know what geek couture is? Yeah. And, but then it stuck. And now when I say geek couture, it's like a thing that people have heard of and that they do. And that they, to your point, they strive to design and be a part of it. And so that I'm very, very proud of, because I didn't exist. I'm sorry, I didn't create the genre of geek couture. Fans were already doing it. I just kind of gave it a name. Fans were designing geek couture designs for years, and that's what inspired the fashion show, because I was inspired when I saw fans walking the hallways of San Diego Comic-Con, using the hallways as their runway to showcase these one-of-a-kind, beautiful couture designs. And so I just wanted to give the fans like an actual runway to walk on. So yeah, it's something I'm very proud of. And just honored that now it's a recognized part of fashion. It's a very real part of fashion.
Something that I really love about the fashion shows, we get to know the designers before we see their pieces. We get a lot of fun videos and compilations of them working. And a lot of the designers say that I wanted to enter for years, but I was like too afraid, or I was too nervous, or I was too intimidated. So I would love to know, what is your best advice for aspiring designers who maybe are just a little too shy to enter this year, but want to enter the Her Universe fashion show next year?
So I encourage designers to enter because you never know what can happen. Every year we have designers that are first time entries. They're first time designers to our show. And it doesn't matter if you're a returning designer or a first time designer, everyone is on equal ground. And it really is based on your design and the quality of your design. So I encourage designers, don't be discouraged if you've never done it before. Because, like, for example, one of our winners from last year, Michael Burson, who is returning as a judge this year, he was a first-time designer. and then Cindy, who was our other winner, it was her second or third time participating. So you just never know. We've had one of our past designers, Adria Renee. She taught herself to sew from YouTube.
Mhm.
She had only been sewing, I think, for 3 months when she was first chosen. And then, not only did she go on to win our show after a couple times entering, but then she went on to get her master's in fashion. So you never know what could happen. And so I encourage designers, give it a shot, because if you have a design in your head, if you have a design in your heart, it could be the perfect design that the judges or the audience is looking for, and you could win even on your first try.
And then lastly, but not leastly, my final question is, what are you geeking out about right now that you're not working on? So no Universe Fashion Show answers.
Okay. What am I geeking out on?
In your infinite free time, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I have to say, I'll share this. I loved the show Wednesday.
Amazing.
On Netflix with Jenna Ortega, and my niece Freya, she watched it. She's young. She's 5, almost 6. And I even said to my sister, I was like, she watched Wednesday? And my sister was like, oh, no, certain parts I fast forwarded. But my niece, it's the first time that she's really attached on to a character and a story, and she's really getting into fandom. And so we've connected now because of Wednesday. And just this weekend, I brought up the Wednesday dance, and we were trying to learn it together, and we were doing it together. And so I just love meeting the next generation of fans and instilling that love of fandom. And so to share that moment with my niece, and then my other niece is also really into Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen.
Yes.
And so they got to come visit me at a convention recently, and they met 2 cosplayers. Well, it was 2 of my nieces. So they met one cosplayer as Spider-Man and one cosplayer as Spider-Gwen. And they were convinced, absolutely convinced, that they met the real Spider-Man and real Spider-Gwen. And to see the excitement and the joy in their eyes meant the world to me. So I think what I'm most excited about is sharing my fandom with the next generation is really, really special.
That's so beautiful. And now I'm like weirdly emotional.
Yeah, no, you get it. You get it. 'Cause we go back to those memories when we were young girls, and our first memory of when we really latched on to fandom. So it's very special to me.
Thank you. How special was that? Fun fact, Ashley Eckstein was my very first ever interview for anything Popverse. So to have her come back and to celebrate something as cool as the Her Universe Fashion Show meant so much to me. I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed doing it. And like I said, if you're going to the fashion show this year, I'm going to be there. So please come and say hello. Whew, friends, it's been a long one. We finally got all the way to the end. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to remind you, of course, that anything that we reference in this episode, you can find the links to down in the description of this video. But as always, the best place to find it is thepopverse.com, where we're celebrating the best in TV, movies, and comics. Get yourself a Popverse membership for the full experience so you never miss a single thing that we are getting up to. Our next live show is San Diego Comic-Con starting next Wednesday, July 19th, because I count preview night as an official day of the show. I hope if you're in San Diego, you will say hello to each and every one of us running around and trying to have the bestest best time possible. I, of course, have been Ashley Victoria Robinson, your video producer and host here in the Popverse. Thank you again so much for joining me. I hope you had the bestest best time, and I will see you next time.